Hey guys, it's Vikram Niham, and today we are talking about this and why you need this in your bag. So I've been getting a lot of messages from people asking me how I achieve that smooth coloring in bright sunny daylight, and if I use a polarizer and an ND filter. And I thought to myself, it would be a great idea to make a video explaining exactly that. You must have heard this 1,000 times before, that an ND filter is like a sunglass for your camera, blocking the light coming through your camera's sensor. But what is the purpose of that, you might ask? And what the heck is a polarizing filter? So confusing! Well, it's actually very simple. Let me explain. ND, which stands for neutral density, can be used to block the light entering the camera sensor. It can help you to use a slow shutter speed and a wide aperture in harsh light. A ND filter is helpful when you want to create that cinematic shallow depth of field or that blurred background when shooting in bright light, or with a wide lens. If your exposure is changing during the take, use a ND filter, or even better, a variable ND filter, which I use. It will offer you a unique way of maintaining total control over your depth of field, as well as representing an efficient way to create some special effects. The filter I use is designed with a built-in rotating ring that controls the neutral density, ranging from 2 to 10 stops. These stops represent the amount of light you want to block coming through your camera sensor. The heavier the density, the slower your shutter speed will be. This longer exposure allows the shutter to remain open enough to record the same amount of light, but will also create some movement within your shot. Another major benefit of this variable ND filter is the elimination of having to buy and carry around individual neutral density filters. Fixed neutral density filters. As a run and gun kind of guy, where I don't have the time to mount and take off many different fixed ND filter, I use this one filter that you can rotate to the degree of the ND you want. It's in real time and it's actually a money saver. Recommended. Simply mount the filter on your lens, set it to minimum density, then frame and focus, and then adjust the degree of the ND you want. Easy peasy, right? But remember one thing, care must be taken when focusing at heavier densities to make sure the focus is accurate. I will put a link in the description of the one I use from Tiffen. It's actually one of the best ND filter I had the pleasure of using. It's extremely solid build, and for some weird reason it also smells really good. That's it. ND filter can be used for blurring continuous motion like flowing water, passing headlights, or motion in sport or live performances. The longer your shutter speed and the lower your frame rate are, the more evident of the blur is. That sweet cinematic blur we all want and crave. So now about this guy. Basically, a polarizer is used for blocking light reflected off a surface. I recently made a short film, and the big part of that film was shot in a moving car with changing exposure and a huge amount of reflection on the car and on the glass. I would have been in big trouble if I didn't have a polarizing filter. Polarizing filter can also enhance the color of the image, reduce the reflection and glare cast on non-metallic reflective surfaces. But the light reflected from a metal surface and the polarizer has no effect on it. The filter will enhance the contrast of the image, saturate the colors and enhance the overall image quality. By adjusting the polarizer, the reflection can be reduced, thereby the image quality and the clarity can be improved. The best angle of using a polarizing filter is at a 90-degree angle to the sun. A polarizer will also reduce glare and reflection when shooting through a glass. When shooting outside, your primary light of source is most likely to be the sun, and whilst the light of the sun is direct, once it reflects off a subject within your scene, it becomes much more scattered. Reflections in bright daylight can drastically reduce image quality in form of glare and haze. It can also desaturate colors, leaving image looking washed out despite the strong directional light of the sun. Using a polarizer can cut down those reflections, particularly in foliage and leaves of trees and other plants are highly reflective in green wavelengths. This can leave areas of the grass and forestry looking very unsaturated in image quality, without the polarization of course. Water is another example. Polarizers are particularly useful at cutting the reflection and glare coming off the water. In many cases, a polarizer can reduce the glare to the point where you actually can see to the bottom of the lake or the beach line you are shooting. It's amazing. You can also see a big difference in the sky. A lot of the lighting in our scenes is reflected back into the sky, reducing its clarity and vibrance. By using a polarizer, we can return some of the blueness to the sky and make the clouds stand out against it. They will pop out. As mentioned before about my short film, reflections of a glass can be significantly reduced when using a polarizer. Polarizer can also cut glare from many other surfaces. The notable exception of no effect is metallic surfaces. A polarizer will have no effect on metal surfaces, such as the body of a car. I've heard many people say that polarizer and neutral density filter do the same thing. They are possibly the two most common filters in use today. This misinterpretation can lead many people to be confused. So, to sum it up, a polarizer is used for blocking light reflected off a surface, while a ND just makes the whole scene darker. Polarizer filter can enhance the color of the image, while ND filter just blocks the light entering the camera and does not change the overall color of the image. A neutral density filter will not cut reflections in a scene. A good ND should not affect color or saturation in any way, hence the term neutral. A poor quality ND may affect color in form of an overall color cast. A lot of you guys have drones, such as myself, and the same principle applies here. Use a ND filter to lose the choppy look that a drone footage can have when shooting with a generous amount of light and short shutter speeds. By reducing the light that's reaching the sensor, a ND filter enables you to select longer cine-style shutter speeds for smoother motions. As you guys can see, there is a significant difference between a ND and a polarizing filter. As a newcomer on budget, the neutral density will probably be more useful filter. As you progress to more advanced videography, you may find yourself needing a polarizing filter as well. Hopefully this video has cleared up the usage and the difference between the two filters. Alright, that's it for today guys. If you find this video helpful and you want to see more of this kind of content, consider subscribing. Got something on your heart? Comment below and I will answer your questions. Alright guys, go out there and create, and I will see you awesome people later.